Welcome to Furniture Design Process. Tonight we're going to design a console for a foyer. The foyer has a wall to the right. As soon as you walk in, just to the right, that is about 12 foot long. And the client would like a console that they could put an old phonograph player in, and because the foyer is very open to the living room, the client would also like to use this as a bar with a pull-out shelf and for wine and bottle storage, liquor bottle storage. So let's get started. I'm going to draw my space in perspective. Proportionately, this would be my 12-foot wall. Now, it takes some familiarity with furniture to know what kind of depth you want, but furniture doesn't always, how can I say, match the depth of a kitchen countertop, which is 24 inches deep. Furniture is, when you have tops to furniture, they're very much in the 18 to 21 inch range. Not that you can see that kind of proportion in a sketch, but you should be conscious of it. So what I like to do is outline what I'm about to do in 3D. And again, even though we're sketching, you want to stay proportionate. Okay. Now, the client's program, I live in South Florida, and it just so happens this client is rather modern and likes deco design and architecture. The client likes kind of a South Beach finish on there, and they saw something in the showroom that was aluminum and let's see, a white wood, like a white pine. Okay. And previously I mentioned the old turntable. And liquor storage and a pull-out shelf for serving. Okay, one of the easiest ways that I have found to get the deco style is to do a taper. If you tour Fort Lauderdale and deco buildings in Miami, you will notice this constant idea of having a taper from small to large, whether it's the back of a chair or integrated signage on a building. But you can take a rectangle like this and deco it, if you will, by simply giving it, some tapering. Okay. So, okay, that's one thing. The other thing that makes design in furniture deco is to literally adopt the colors of deco, which is, they're very much a palette of, I'm trying to remember the colors, the pinks and the greens are, there's a name for them, they're pastels, yes, they're pastels. And it's a very specific palette in terms of, you know, the tone of the pastels. Even it's toned down. You can't say they're loud pastels, but you have to very much study the palette of what we call classic deco. So I would like this piece to, you know, get up off the ground. Obviously it needs points on the ground as legs, but, you know, I could begin to subtract, you know, part of the footing here and leave something for legs. Now I'm going to, you know, looking at this, and let's say your living room is accessed through an opening over here. You may say to yourself, well, as I come around the corner, it doesn't matter whether I access the liquor cabinet here or the phonograph here, but for some reason I think I would just like the phonograph over on one end, this end just feels right, and the rest of this would be liquor cabinet. And in this case, it's just poetic license to do so. So I also am thinking I may not want to open the whole top to access the player, so I might have a seam there, and to give some symmetry to the piece, I may have a joint in the top there. So now we have a top that opens, but we don't necessarily have to make it a thin top, because your cabinet maker could come around this corner, how can I say, make an L-shaped corner and put the seam lower. That is also our artistic license to make the top open with a chunk of the front facade, just because it is our artistic license to do so. Now, of course, I'm drawing with a digital pen on my screen, but if I, you know, depending on the medium I design with, whether that be pencil, ink, or whatever, you would obviously use finer lines for the seams of your project, and you would use heavier lines, you know, around the outline and whatnot. Okay, so we're going to have our turntable in this area. We're going to have our liquor storage here. I think in this piece it would be very nice to be able to access the liquor storage with doors in front of the piece, rather than simply lifting the top and looking down at the tops of bottles. And you know, I've seen many consoles that work this way, but you have to keep pulling up bottles to read the label to see what kind it is, whereas if you open the door, you also have the option of standing back a little bit and possibly seeing, you know, the bottle that you're looking for. So, you know, we're coming at this in two ways. Another aspect of furniture design is the finish, and there is an opportunity here to do inlays. Okay. Such as this. Okay, and when you do an inlay, you can make the decision whether there is any protrusion, or if it's thicker than the material that it's applied to, or if it's integrated so well that it's actually flush with the material around it, and thus a true inlay. Because, well, what I mentioned earlier, if there's any kind of a protrusion, it's not really the definition of an inlay. But so anyways, so far what we've covered in furniture design is the initial architectural evaluation of the room, how much room we have, or how much space we have for the piece, an initial, how can I say, proportioning of the piece, given the program requirements. We cut it up into modules, areas of use. We begin to sculpt the form, as they say, form follows function. So we assign 3D volumes to the functions being served. And at this point, I'm so confident in the cabinet maker finding a way to build just about anything that you can design, that I'm not really worried about how this is being built. Like I say, in time you'll gain that confidence that it can be done in metal or wood or whatnot. And sure, sometimes what you propose, if it's out of the ordinary, may be price prohibitive, and you may have to value engineer it and reverse your design process so that you can make it affordable. Again, you'll have to consult with your cabinet maker and you know, understand how to modify it to get the effect you want, but within the price you want. So we've touched upon some sculpture as it relates to furniture design, and the final consideration, of course, is now that you have this 3D mass, you know, how do we finish it? And there's just many options. There we could start with unfinished raw, you know, wood that has maybe polyurethane or a clear type coat on there, to painting it in a lacquer with, it used to be in the 80s, was very popular, you know, you would paint something in black lacquer and then have, you know, 7 or 8 coats of clear lacquer over it. You could take a totally different approach. You could tile the piece with mosaic. You could gold leaf the piece. You could, if it was metal, you could literally use base coat, clear coat, and automotive finishes to do more of an industrial design finish on there. You could stay with fine woodworking and do all kinds of inlays and place all kinds of, you know, veneers on the front, such as you know, book matched veneers and all the wood grained veneers for beautiful, you know, more traditional furniture. There's many ways to go on this. You know, possibly an innovative person may even choose to make such a piece with Corian, you know, which is like a simulated granite. You could gild, you know, some of this. You could chrome, you know, part of this. Every imaginable finish could be part of your furniture design, depending on how traditional or you know, modern you are shooting for. So next, it might help to begin to clean up the drawing. And as we clean it up, we can decide what it is we want to commit to. Okay, it's not so easy to do on here, but if I were sketching on my desk, I would take tracing paper and do a layered effect on here. Okay, so we're going back now and we're committing to the form. Okay, and we're committing to the joints of the furniture that we like. And the inlay that we like. Okay. It would be nice to add some color. Let me see if I could do a wash of color. I'm using a manual sketching program, and I used to be pretty good at manually sketching, but over the last 10-15 years I've been using 3D programs, so I've chosen to use a method that I'm out of practice with, manual sketching. I told myself I would never abandon it, but many times we just jump right in with the 3D program and skip the step of sketching. So, okay, furniture design.